I think I've got to the point where I know what I want, and I'm going to spend just a couple minutes here now. I've placed all of my zip tie hold downs, the stays, I placed them all, and now, of course, I've moved things. The Behringer pedals have their power in weird spots, so after you move them, you have to then all of a sudden account for a little extra slack within your cable. So I've kind of undone some stuff. I want to redo some stuff and just kind of go from there. How did I have this? Yes, so I'm leaving a little bit of slack here for my actual power section. I got some more zip ties. The zip ties that came with the pedal board, most of them broke. Some of them lasted enough to get me through, my first round. But if you're a pedal guy, I highly recommend having zip ties around. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to have to elevate those back feet. But yeah, now I can kind of keep my cables in a good spot. Now this isn't going to be as amazing as like doing a custom board where you can have each cable in its exact spot, because these daisy chains they're wide, and so you got two cables that you're kind of dealing with going to two different locations at any given time. So it doesn't make it the easiest or the cleanest looking underneath, but I'm going to do my best to at least kind of have things the way that I like them. The other thing is, once you do kind of zip tie some of those things down, you want to make sure that you actually still are plugged in. That Behringer, once again, came unplugged. I like how loud it gets as a boost, and I like having it as some fuzz options, but I can't stand the way the Behringer power is positioned on those pedals. Oy. But man, that boost is killer on the fuzz. It's just a great little boost. And once you put a couple of cables under here, they get to the point where they're almost as tall as the feet. So I'm going to have to change the feet out on both of these, but I'll probably raise the back up a little bit more. Yeah, so then it just becomes this like kind of making it fit kind of game, and I don't like the stuff to be too visible from the other side. I'd like the cables to be as invisible as possible. Man, when you're cutting off the old ones, make sure you don't reach in and grab a cable. Always be watching what you're doing there. I did that one time, and oh, that ticked me off. So moving up to the top row, I just want to make sure I leave enough slack. I'll turn the board over again and make sure everything's plugged in. There's the ones I broke. And since these aren't individual power runs from a power supply to each pedal, it kind of makes it a little bit difficult sometimes when you're doing like the one spot daisy chains and things like that. And I don't use them all that often, but like I said, this one spot stuff works really well, and this will work just fine for a practice board, considering I'm not running a whole bunch of digital things and having a lot of things that don't want to be daisy chained in it. So I'm getting there. So trying to just keep things out of the visible range right through here the best that I can. And I might be able to tighten that up a little bit, and I could even just take it right there where I don't have a tie down. I can take a little zip tie and just tie these two cables together just so that cable doesn't get wild and crazy. All right, I'm going to turn this over, and you guys can see what I finally decided on and what it looks like. This is why I love this little cable here, because check this out. It's a DC step-up voltage connector, USB to the proper tip. Now I can just plug this in real quick. Now look at that. So you haven't seen this yet in any of the videos. You haven't heard that. You've seen the other delay. You haven't really seen this yet either. You've seen it. You haven't heard it yet in anything. And then this guy. Oh, this guy's great. EQ, after gain. The Flamma, the little mini Flamma that I just did a video on. Really cool. Like this guy. Probably going to keep it on the chorus and phase settings. And then this little mini. Look, that's even smaller. Look at this little guy's even smaller. That's just the craziest mini pedal I've ever seen. So here it is. I'm gonna get this plugged into the Jet City, since that's going to be the amp that stays at practice. Yeah, not bad. And so you can see where the pedal train risers are. So from the side view, hopefully you can see how I can actually access these pedals here. So you've got just enough lift there for me to clear. And so when it sits flat, that's there. So yeah, this is working really well. One of the reasons I decided to go for this was this particular distortion pedal here is it's a tube amp modeler. So I really could send stereo left and right out of this digital reverb and have this tube amp modeler on all the time and have like a clean or a dirty sound going and then recording into my interface, or even to a board, to a console for mixing reasons at practice. If I didn't even want to bring the amp, I could have that there. If I just want to mess around here at home, I can plug that right into the interface. This Ibanez SM9 just sounds great with this. Right now I've got a low gain, a mid gain, and then what can be either a clean amp or a really dirty amp. And then I can hit that dirty amp with different layers of distortion before it. And then I'm using the boost end of the Super Fuzz to get loud for solos and then off for quiet. Modulation, echo, reverb, EQ, tuner, and a tremolo in between some gains just for gets and shiggles. Okay, this is the new practice board. I hope you guys are excited as I am to really dig into this. And I like it. Thanks for being here. I like you. I have my Phoenix Pro pack on, actually using a Phoenix Pro wireless too here, since I have it all set up, going straight into the board. I haven't changed anything since unplugging from the Jet City. So I'll kind of start off with everything the way it is. One thing that's going to be crucial here is this Behringer TM300, the tube amp modeler. It has cabinet simulation and is going to basically act as my preamp and cabinet. So it's basically acting like that, but I'm now going directly into my interface stereo, going out of the digital reverb stereo into a stereo DI right into my interface, just to kind of help keep it clean. And the guitar itself, when it's plugged in like that, is just a little plinky. You can probably hear it if I mute it for a second. You can hear the strings in my microphone. That's how quiet it is in here right now. So, and there it is. I'm just listening through my ears, and very dry, gross kind of sound, but you add some modeling. Now, I was using this as a distortion pedal, so it's not really tuned in right now to be exactly what I would use this for. So let's just see, it's got a couple of different models. That's mic placement, and then you can throw it even more off. This tube modeler is basically mimicking a Sans amp. What was that company? Tech something. Sans amp, however you want to pronounce it. And it has a couple of different cabinet modes as far as miking, and then the type of cabinet, and then the type of head that you're going to have here. So it's got 3 different modes, and I was using it kind of gainy, and then another mode, and then an even more mode. So there's the amp. So I can have a clean amp, and then a little less of that mid-range sucking going on in the cabinet. There's a different model of cabinet. And then I can come over to my EQ, turn that on. And if I even need to juice the levels a little bit, this is what I had set for the amp. Probably not great for this, but so having an EQ after the modeler is going to give you a little more shaping options as far as the sounds. It's a little more extreme than if I put it before it. So the concept of stacking would still be the same. I have kind of a, there's like a milder kind of a gain sound. I can back it off even more. Add some highs. Yeah, so once I get away from what I had it set for the amp, kind of get a little more of a natural response out of the pedal. Oh, that's nice. So I like to keep stuff low, even high gain stuff. I like to kind of keep the gain low. And you can hit it with something else, So there's the California model with the other positions all the way to the left. Yeah, then you can start to add some high end as you select a new cabinet. So that then becomes kind of my tone sculptor, my tone shaper, and then I can use that in conjunction with the EQ. Let's back it off. All right, so there's like the British with a slightly more modern cabinet. With the tones at noon and the gain. There's the gain backed off all the way. And then if I could still use my volume controls. Dial something in maybe a little bit cleaner, even if I went. I don't know, it gets so beefy that way. A little reverb for space. So you can see the way I had it going into the tube amp. I really have to keep that level down, but now I can bring it up a little bit. Going into the interface. And even that's too much, just giving it a little. Like that delay. And I like delay and then reverb. That's kind of my thing. And then I like modulation before that. So here's that chorus I had going on. Not too fast, the speed is set to about 9 o'clock, depth just about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And that's almost... Oh, not bad, And then, so this clean boost after all of that just makes it louder, So boost after your most distorted or after your final drive is going to give you a volume jump like that. Let's see if I turn it up real high. So, and then going into a tube amp that way into the front end there is going to kind of saturate the tubes even more. And if the amp has headroom, you'll get that volume jump. But if you have kind of a Marshall where it's already kind of broken up a little bit, you're going to make that even more saturated that way. So I generally would I'd run my boost in my loop and keep it pretty mild. And I like to have one with an EQ in there so I can tame the low end as needed depending on volume. Back that back down. And now if I add either this British distortion turn that off and add the SM9. A little more bite out of the SM9. So see how using this as a boost, I have the level up real high on this first gain pedal. And it's before my last gain pedal. So while that's on, that's kind of acting as its own master volume here. And that's the same concept going into the tube amp. That preamp is going to kind of have a limit that you're going to hit. And then using a boost after it or in your loop makes the power section of an amp like that get louder, whereas here I'm saturating it more in the front of this, so doing the stack, kind of stacking them. So if I stacked them both, So, and having my noise. So yeah, that's the problem with stacking, is you're just adding noise. So you can hear just putting 2 gain pedals on in front of an already dirty amp is going to add that. I can see it on my levels, and then I boost it even more, you know. So having a nice, quiet, clean signal, you got to turn some stuff off. This board being the practice board, I'm probably only going to have 1 or 2 things on as far as gain at a time going into a tube amp. I doubt I would ever stack all of them like it was messing around with it. But the concept then of having like maybe a tremolo in one of these places, I just happened to have it before 1 gain pedal, and after my first one, though, you know, it's definitely a different feeling. So you're having distortion on kind of after it. Trims it away, whereas put some before, and it's like almost gone. Because I really have to bring up that intensity a little bit more to get the effect of it. So it's going to be a very subtle kind of tremolo. And honestly, the tremolo, I should have it after my modeler. I should have that down there somewhere, but I've kind of like having it here before. It's a little more subtle than I'm used to. And then this Flamma has a tremolo as well. So if I really want that more choppy one, I can dial something like that in, you know. So there's the stutter one, I guess. Where's just the treble? So here would be a little more of a smoother treble. But you can hear after the distortion, and plus adding a little more depth to it, I can really get it to chop up. Because now it's taking the whole signal and modulating that wave enough that it's taking all of the distortion down, whereas opposed to before here, it's taking the guitar signal down, and then the distortion is still taking all of it and making it a little louder. So it's much more subtle when it's in front of distortion, as opposed to what you could get after, especially when you bring that depth up. See, after tremolo after makes a big difference. My general idea for stacking gains, too, is that I like to go lower into a higher one, you know, a low gain into higher. The Fender side isn't really taking pedals as well as I would have hoped for. That just sounds kind of better, running this circuit into that circuit. EQ off. EQ on. Yeah, that's nice. That British with all the other switches over. That sounds good. That's Cali, that's British. So the California has a little more low end, and the British has a little more mid-range focus. Oh yeah. Awfully loud when you stack it all. This could use a noise gate. But man, that's great. So this is a killer little board that can go to practice and plug into an amp or direct in. Make this guitar that sounds like that sound like that. It's going to be great to have something small like this to just keep at practice. And I hope my kind of stacking philosophy came through enough. You know, the idea for this right now is that this pedal can act as a distortion or an overdrive into a kind of a cleanish amp or a dirtier amp and make it even dirtier. Or this could serve as like my bass sound, and then I add to it with different ones. And then having a volume lifter after those gains, and then kind of the shimmery stuff and all the stuff later on for me after that. I like to go modulation, then delay and reverb. You know, everybody kind of changes things around. The main reason I have it like that right now is that the reverb is a stereo out, so I can run into two inputs and keep everything stereo. And having that tube amp modeler really takes that, you know, sound, that just kind of regular old sound, and makes it sound a little more lifelike. So that's I'm not going to use this board for that, but it's nice to know that it has that option if I ever need to. If my amp ever went down, I could plug it right into the mixer at practice and at least get some sounds. So I hope you guys have dug the kind of the building up and the process here. I've really tried to build things up in like increments of $20 to $35, $40. You know, maybe that's a little more expensive, but everything on here is really pretty cheap. It's only going to be, you know, the power supply was about $20. A daisy chain was another $8 or $10, something like that. Each one of these pedals. The Behringer stuff is about $20 to $25. The Flamma, I think, $30. You know, the little mini delay here wasn't even $22 or something like that, you know. And so this is just a great way to just kind of over the course of several months put aside $20, $30 a month and just say, okay, what's the next thing I need for here? What's the next thing I need for here? $30 worth of cables. You know, I got to get my power supply next month, you know. And then next thing you know, you have a bunch of stuff over a few months. You've got enough money saved up and enough little pieces kicking around. Like I have over the years, I could, you know, just kind of pick and choose now and take certain things out. I might change the order of these two. I'd like to hear what this sounds like pushing that. You know, that's probably going to be what I end up doing. So this isn't even the final version of it, but this is the way it's going to go to practice for right now. So anyway, hope you dig or have dug part 3 of this video, and check out all of them if you want to see this from the beginning. They're in their own little playlist. Thanks for being here at Double D Guitar, and yeah, my medium pedal board is ready to head out the door to practice. So kiss this one goodbye. It's going to be away for a couple of months, so I'm glad I got this all filmed here tonight. Hope you guys are doing well. Peace out. Love, double.